There is a significant legal battle that is taking place in the George Floyd murder case. On the one hand, you have prosecutors who want to get in the history of these officers, some of the things that they've done before, the way they have arrested people previously. They want the jury to go back in time to take a look at the work of these officers. Now, today, we're talking about the defense. The defense wants the jury to see George Floyd. They want to go back in time, back to 2019, a prior arrest of George Floyd. Now, tonight, we've got brand new video from that arrest in 2019 that we obtained from the court file. We're going to show it to you in just a moment, but I just want to kind of put a little context around all of this and explain exactly what the defense is trying to do here. What the defense is trying to explain or wants to argue to this jury is that George Floyd, when you see him in that 2020 video on the day that he died, the way that he was acting, the way that he was reacting was not because of what police were doing to him, not because of what police were treating him. No, they're saying this is George Floyd. This is the way he reacts when he's confronted by police. This is his modus operandi when confronted, when he is about to be arrested, when he is doing something wrong. That's their theory. So they want to take this 2019 arrest and put it in front of the jury. They are arguing in their court papers, which of course Court TV obtained, which of course we have read. And they are arguing that the arrest in 2019 is almost a direct parallel to what happened in 2020 on the day he died. He's in a car. He's approached by police. So what I'm going to do for you right now, first, and a graphic warning, because all of this, it's arrest video, it's body cam, it's George Floyd. So you understand the nature of it, okay? I'm giving you that warning ahead of time. But I'm going to start by showing you the 2020 arrest and the beginning, the approach, when he is first approached by police. Let's take a look at that first.
Let me see your hands.
Damn, man.
Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me see your other hand.
Please, Miss Officer.
Both hands.
Do nothing.
Put your hands up right now. Let me see your other hand.
All right. What I do though? What do we do?
Put your hand up there. Put your hand up there. Keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your hands on the wheel.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Miss Officer.
Who else is in the car?
I got shot. This is my friend.
Put your foot back in.
I'm sorry, Miss Officer. I'm so sorry. Dang, man. Man, I got shot the same way, Miss Officer, before.
Okay, well, when I say let me see your hands, you put your hands up.
I'm so sorry, Miss Officer.
You got them?
Man, dang, man.
Put your hands on top of your head.
Man, Miss Officer. Last time I got shot like that, Miss Officer.
Hands on top of your head. Hands on top of your head. Step out of the vehicle and step away from me, all right? Step out and face away.
Okay, that's 2020. There's a lot of things going on there right now. I'm going to play for you his arrest in 2019. This time he's in the passenger seat. He's not in the driver's seat of the vehicle. You'll see the officer approach. Some of the things that the defense is arguing are similar. The fact that his hands, he's not putting his hands up, and his hands are kind of doing things. And you hear him talk about not wanting to get shot. And in the video, what I noticed also is you'll see this officer reaches for his gun at a moment as well. So doesn't hold it out as long as that officer did. But now let's watch 2019 to see how similar or different it is from 2020.
What are you doing? Can you undo your seatbelt, sir? Sir, passenger, can you undo your seatbelt? Go ahead and undo your seatbelt.
Don't shoot me, man. Please, I don't want to get shot.
I don't plan on shooting you. I'm just saying, just take your time.
I ain't never seen him.
Okay, relax. Just undo your seatbelt. Let her take care of her guy. Just keep your hands out where I can see him. Hey! Let me. Keep your hands where I can see him. Okay? Put them up on the dash. Put them on the dash. I'm not going to shoot you. Put your hands on the dash. Put your hands on the dash. The last time I'm going to tell you that. It's simple.
I got you.
He keeps moving his hands around. He won't listen to what I have to say.
There you go, right there. All right,
Put your hands on
Okay.
top of your head.
What y'all doing?
On your head.
Top of your head.
Okay, man.
Open your mouth. Spit out what you got. Spit out what you got. I'm gonna tase you. Spit it out.
I'm out.
He's eating
Don't
all
you
behind
jerk
you.
away from me.
No, that was one yellow pill.
Put your hands behind your
That was one yellow pill, boss.
Okay, now slowly come on out.
Damn, man.
Hand on
Now
your
put
head.
your
Hand on your head.
Okay, relax then.
All right, we're breaking this down piece by piece, but I can't do it by myself. I've got to bring in Court TV anchor Michael Ayala, who is with us. Michael, we've gotten this video in here. We understand what the defense wants to do with it, but I'm interested, number one, in your reaction to this first part that we've just seen, this approach, comparing what is happening in 2019 versus 2020, and what, if anything, it tells us about George Floyd or tells us about the police.
Yeah, you know, they're eerily similar. So that's definitely a fair comparison. I think what's interesting is there is a difference between the approach of the police officers. These police officers, they're worried about their safety here in 2019, the video we're watching right now, but they're not nearly as aggressive. And you can see that George Floyd is responding better to these officers than he was to the other officers. And what I'm doing right now, Vinny, is I'm doing exactly what prosecutors are going to do if, in fact, this is allowed in. They're going to show you the differences between how the police officers went about their job. He's responding. Now, it's fair to say that he may actually just have anxiety dealing with police. Is that really unreasonable in today's climate? Probably not. So maybe he really just has anxiety, and this is how he's responding to these situations, right? But these officers seem to be approaching it with a little more professionalism, a little less aggressive, and he's responding a little better. That's what I see.
All right, I want to move on to the next part now, and this is another part of what the defense is arguing is about fentanyl, that when he is stopped by police and he has drugs, he puts them in his mouth to get rid of the evidence. And they're saying that happened in 2020. Let's go first to the 2020 video. Let's take a look.
It's your other hand.
All right. What I do though? What do we do?
Put your hand up there. Put your hand up.
Now, in this video, again, we've shown you this a few times, but I'm showing it to you again because what the defense is arguing here is that in his mouth, he has ingested the fentanyl. And there's a little white dot that's going to show up. We'll freeze the camera for you so you can see it. But this is the argument from the defense that George Floyd is stopped by police, approached by police, and when he's approached, he puts the drugs in his mouth, and they're saying, there it is. This is significant because they're saying this leads to the death of George Floyd. Now, let's move forward to the 2019 video, Michael. As we take a look at 2019, this is going to be the officer who approaches from the driver's side, who is the one who is noticing George Floyd putting something in his mouth. Let's take a look.
He won't listen to what I have to say.
There you go, right there. All right,
Put your hands on
Okay.
top of your head.
What y'all doing?
On your head.
Top of your head.
Okay, man.
Open your mouth. Spit out what you got. Spit out what you got. I'm gonna tase you. Spit it out.
I'm out.
He's eating all
Don't you
behind you.
jerk away from me.
No, that was one yellow pill.
Put your
All right, Michael, does this argument from the defense have any traction based upon these videos? I mean, could a jury reasonably say because in 2019 he says he has one yellow pill that he put in his mouth, they're saying they see all these pills everywhere, that in 2020 he ingested fentanyl, and in 2020 that little white dot that we see in the video, but is it his teeth, is it gum? I don't know. Do you think that's a reasonable argument that they'll be able to make?
You know what's interesting is, yes, I mean, it's a reasonable argument. There could be no denying that. But the question for the judge in terms of letting it in or not, first is relevance, right? That's the first inquiry. And of course, it is relevant. But now you have to look at how probative it is versus how prejudicial it is. And I think this is not terribly probative to how he would have acted or whether he actually ingested something on the day in 2020, but I think it's extremely prejudicial in terms of presenting him as someone who has been arrested before, who is not a good guy, because there are two ways to use this video. There is to show the modus operandi, as you mentioned, but also if the prosecution tries to show him as a good guy, gentle giant, all the things we've heard about him, they're going to be allowed, the defense is going to be allowed to bring this video in to show, hey, he's been arrested before, he's not such a great guy. So in that sense, yes, it's probative. You can bring it in to combat that argument that he's a good guy. But in terms of the other way, for the modus operandi, I'm not sure it's probative enough to overcome just how prejudicial it's going to be.
All right, one more part of this I want to take a look at, because as you read the papers filed by the defense, they say the two arrests parallel each other up until one point. And the point where they diverge is when it's time to put George Floyd into the squad car. First, let's take a look at 2020.
Man, I'm scared as man. When I start breathing, it's gonna go off on me, man.
Pull your legs in.
Okay. Let me count to three. And I'm going in. Please. I'm not trying to win. I get on the ground, anything. I can't stand this, man. He know it. Okay, can I talk to you, please?
As you get in this car, we can talk.
I'm claustrophobic.
I'm hearing you, but you're not working with me.
God, I'm claustrophobic, man.
Have your gun over here. I'm going to pull you in.
Get in the car.
Get me in the front, please.
No, you're not getting in the front.
I'm claustrophobic, so I was
Get in the car.
Okay, man, okay. I'm not a bad guy, man.
Get in the car.
I'm not a bad guy. Man. Please, officer. Please,
Sit.
please.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please. No,
Take a seat.
I can't choke. I can't breathe, officer. Please.
All right, so that's 2020, and we've seen that before, and we understand it was he did not want to get in there. I'm claustrophobic. Something is going on. Obviously, very agitated, and both sides will argue for different reasons. Now let's take a look at the way it happened in 2019 when it was time to go into the squad car.
Have a seat.
That would have been so bad, man.
Have a seat.
Let's take this one.
Have a seat. All the way in. I gotta get all the way in there. Slide on over. I know you're a big man. You're gonna have to slide in.
It's you, man.
You're gonna have to slide in. He didn't have any ID on him.
All right, so that major difference. But I think the question is, why? Why is it different? From your perspective, Michael, having watched these videos today, can you ascertain from watching these videos why in 2019 he's able to get in there and in 2020 it doesn't happen?
Look, if we try to figure out, that it's all reading tea leaves, right? But if I watch both videos, and we've watched them frame by frame, I think the defense has to be careful, because regardless of what you think watching this video, I know what prosecutors are going to say. And the prosecutors are going to say that the difference was how the officers handled the situation. I think there was a much better attempt and a much better result in the de-escalation of the situation and the anxieties, or maybe it was his modus operandi, whatever was going on with George Floyd. I think the de-escalation efforts of the 2019 event very different than what was going on in 2020. So if the defense bring this in, they better be ready for that prosecution to go at this thing frame by frame and really pick apart what those police officers did. So this could be a double-edged sword. They better be very careful.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 10,000%. The other part is his demeanor. And something else that the defense is arguing in their papers is if you just watch the 2020 video, in a vacuum, and you see a man who is crying, you see a man who is asking for his mom, you are seeing a man who is broken down. Now, after watching 2019, do you see similar demeanor in these two, in 2019 and 2020?
I'll tell you what, Vinny, as a defense attorney, if I'm putting this video in, what part of what I'm doing is, even if the judge doesn't let it in, I'm hoping that what happens is this video gets out so that people can see it. The potential jury pool can see it. Number one, They begin to see that this guy has been in trouble before. Number two, he's been involved with pills before, all these things. But also, and this affected me, I have to be honest, hearing him respond the same way, talking about his mama, the anxiety that we see, it cuts into the dramatic nature of the 2020 video. I can't lie, it absolutely does. This I can't breathe thing, which has become iconic in the culture as he's become sort of this figure that's sort of created this movement. So it is effective in that sense from a defense point of view. So yes, I think there's something to be said for that. And you know, like I said, listening to it, it did cut a little bit into my reaction to the 2020 video.
All right, now the big question, and our viewers at home, you know, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but based upon your experience, should that 2019 video get in front of the jury?
I'll tell you what, again, as I say, it's a double-edged sword there in terms of how, I mean, it's a two-way street in terms of how the judge looks at it. He has to look at relevance. Is it relevant? Yes, it's relevant. Then he has to look at, again, the probative value versus how prejudicial it is. From my point of view, and again, I come at these things often from a defense point of view, it feels very, very, very prejudicial. And I'm not sure how much it proves, because if you tell me that one of those officers were one of the officers on the scene in 220, then it's much more relevant, much more probative, because now he has something to say, okay, this guy acts like this all the time. But the officers in 2020 had no knowledge of this, so they can't really respond in a different way. They've got to take it at face value and perhaps should have treated the situation differently. So I think it's too prejudicial to allow in and not probative enough of anything specific. I think the defense has many other ways to show that perhaps he did take pills that day and there were other reasons for perhaps why George Floyd died at the hands of the police that day.
Yeah, I agree with your analysis and the danger. I mean, this is a slippery road, right? Because it can be either side trying to go back in time to prove the case one way or the other. And it gets very dangerous when you start doing that, because how far you go back, what can they see, and how relevant is that, and what does that have to do with what happened on that day? And that day, we've got plenty of video, plenty of testimony to figure it out. So, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what's going to happen here. Michael Ayala, fantastic on this Friday. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.